Hello, thanks for joining the Tuesday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Ozubakum. Today on the Hangout, doctors kick off nationwide strike. Ganduje Kokonso supporters in bloody clash at Emir's Palace. And later on the program, Boko Haram attacks kill 400 since April. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju, Moji Jamiu, and Lekon Fatuju will be making his debut. So if you are ready, let the Hangout start now. Many thanks for joining us. The French philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre once said, when the rich wage war, it's poor who die. It's the poor who die. Since Monday, resident doctors in public, secondary and tertiary hospitals have withdrawn their services, denying Nigerians access to Medicare. They said the federal government has failed to meet their demands, which include payment of end allowance. Sadly, the federal government has become notorious for not fulfilling agreements it enters routinely with various groups. Its inaction has been negatively impacted on Nigeria's healthcare system, leading to avoidable death, complications, and loss of public trust and medical tourism. With this ongoing strike, Nigerians will again pay the price. There won't be any doctor to do ward rounds or prescribe drugs to patients, and new patients can't be admitted at the general hospitals. Many people will unfortunately die, while many more resort to self-medication. Those who can afford it move their relatives to private clinics, but those who can't hope for miracles to happen. Reports suggest that the federal government will hold a meeting with the National Association of Resident Doctors on Wednesday to find ways to resolve the impasse. Should strike be an option for doctors? When do you consider the first, that is, do not harm, that is a section of the Hippocratic oath taken by medical doctors? Babajide, most of the time when doctors will say they are going on strike, and this Hippocratic oath is always used as like a blackmail, when we know that most of the time, like every other workers, they enter into agreement with them and they don't meet the agreements. Now, from what has happened in the past, when you look at the state of our primary health care system, secondary health care system, and our so-called tertiary health care facilities that we have all around, a lot of people will tell you that, look, this is not the way it used to be, it ought to be. The government is not paying attention to the Medicare in Nigeria.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it that our healthcare delivery ought to be better. I will tell you one story that Nuri Badu told me in December 2006. He said in Adamawa State, he's from Adamawa State, that some of his relations, when they fall sick, they are taken to Cameroon.
From Adamawa State?
Yes, to receive Medicare. In fact, it's so bad. You know, Madagali area has been constantly attacked by Boko Haram. People would travel long distances before they can get to the nearby hospital. In some cases, you must get to the capital of your local government, headquarters of your local government, before you can access primary health care. Just primary health care.
Basic.
You must get to the headquarters of the local government. And in some cases, you find in the north, you find that a local government headquarters and another town within the local government could be like more than 3 or 4 hours apart. That's the way it is in some cases. So before you get that person to the nearest health facility, he will have died. So Nuri Badu said, to the shame of Nigeria, that his own relations, they take them to Cameroon to receive Medicare. It's such a terrible thing that we've handled education with levity, we've handled health care service delivery with levity in our country, because we believe that, oh, it is politics that should get all the attention. In those days too, we put so much money on defense, especially in the 80s. In a time of peace, we put so much money. Like we were always budgeting so much money to defense. Today, and you will not, you didn't see weapons that were even bought with despite the huge allocation of money to defense. We've seen other countries say, look, we are going to concentrate on education. Education will be our number 1 priority, our number 2 priority, and our number 3 priority. That was what the leader of Australia said. And it's been quoted and quoted and quoted. Because if you give people quality education, you are building your nation undoubtedly, you know, for the next generation. Because it is not just petroleum that we should rely on, or oil that we should rely on. We should be able to rely on what our people have got upstairs. And Nigerians have people of tremendous potential. We have bright people. If only the right government would be in place to harness the resources that God has deposited in the heads of our people. So I'm not surprised that these people have decided to go on strike. Government does not feel the need to even honor agreements that it gets into without any form of compulsion. If you and I agree on something, I didn't put a gun to your neck or a knife to your neck, and you agreed that, look, we are going to do this, then your words should be bond. You should be able to honor such agreements. We failed to honor agreements reached with lecturers. They are on strike now. We failed also to honor agreements reached with resident doctors, because clearly these guys were not lying. And I do not, when we talk about hypocritical, there are, look at when Fashola refused to dialogue with the doctors here, allowed doctors to be on strike for so long before superior political forces intervened and told him, look, enough is enough. He wanted doctors in Lagos here to earn less than doctors in Jigawa and other places. I'm telling you, even some of the neighboring states were earning higher than doctors in Lagos. And everyone knows that the volume of work here is greater. So that was why those guys said, no, we will not take this. And then they went on and on and on. Invariably, reason prevailed, and that strike ended. There is no year that we do not suffer this kind of strike in the health sector. If they are not going on strike, junior workers in the health sector too will go on strike. So I think that government, once and for all, should find a way to solve this problem and then expend its energy on improving infrastructure in the health sector, and even increased funding of the health sector. That's how we can get to the promised land.
Okay, Liko, how do we go about this? Because if these people are on strike and you now begin to look at the casualties, that's, if you go to Lut today, if you go to Lasut, if you go to all this tertiary health, UCH, you understand better what is it to be for resident doctors to be on strike.
Strike. It's really, really unfortunate that, you know, at this time, at this period of development, Nigeria is still experiencing things like this. You know, sometimes when I hear about the issue of strike, I just try to imagine that when are we going to have a final solution to this kind of anomaly? Jide did mention about New Ribadu taking his family from Adamawa to Cameroon for healthcare because of the absence of such in Nigeria. He's actually making reference to an individual who has the capacity and the financial wherewithal to do that. I even doubt that, you know, the story that he told was years back, because that corridor is even treacherous at the moment with the danger of terrorism and Boko Haram and all of that. So beyond the danger of medical tourism, which, you know, you can only afford such because you have the financial capacity. What about those people who do not have that capacity? The government is talking about Hippocratic Oath. They're talking about Trade Dispute Acts as a way of blackmail to ensure that these people can come to work. You know, I don't know how. The other time I was listening to the vice president talking about the lack of funding in police and, you know, amongst the guys, and he's now trying to draw an analogy between your professional disposition and the work that you are supposed to deliver. Like, just imagine a situation whereby somebody who is not well paid and is given a gun and he has the power to life and death. We've seen policemen talking about bribe. You know, very recently we heard about the scandal of an individual that was brought to the police station. And when you look at what is obtainable in the developing countries that we usually make reference to, we just going to sit down and just really feel sad about the situation of, you know, things in Nigeria, particularly on the side of Medicare. The primary health care is nowhere to be talked about. The secondary and the tertiary, they are facing the same problem now. The other time we were hearing scandal about the fact that the National Health Insurance scheme is not reaching maybe 10,000 population. 3,000.
3% of Nigeria.
3% of Nigeria. And we are talking about a lot of corruption and a lot of scandal that's going in that sector. Now, we are talking about this ground is supposed to be a ground where our, you know, potentially great doctors can be nurtured, you know. And they are presently facing the issue of lack of motivation in terms of no money. And very soon, we will be talking about brain drain. That is one of the challenges that we're going to look at the NHS in the UK at the moment. We have huge population of Nigerians working in the British, you know, system. As good as that service is, because I'm a beneficiary of that fantastic service, consistently people are still talking about the need for the emergency and the other services to improve their services for the benefit of the downtrodden particularly. But right now, there's nothing to talk about the primary health care. There's nothing to talk about the secondary, and we are now facing this challenge. I think the government at this moment has so much burden on his neck.
Okay,
you know, and it seems to be
let me allow for MJ's intervention. In this situation, I don't know, ASU is on strike. NMA cannot afford to go on strike for this long, or for a long, you know, strike. That means the government right now, if these two critical sectors, if they're on strike, that means, I don't know, I don't see anything working. If our children are at home, they can't go to school, and those that are sick, they can't access Medicare.
You know, at times I wonder, maybe something gets into our leaders anytime they get into positions of a minister or what have you. In this particular instance, it is sad that both the Minister of Labour and Productivity, Prince Igige, is a medical doctor, and also the minister is also a medical doctor.
Yeah, so I was even told that the minister was even NMA president at one time.
No, secretary.
Yes.
Secretary
So,
at UCH.
and you know,
1984.
Chai. Nigerians can dig.
Yes. A
Secretary of
statement,
Residence.
Doctors.
a statement from Ngige's office earlier today. There's a particular language that I saw in that statement. They said the strike by the National Association of Resident Doctors has been apprehended. Whatever that means. I mean, they will just come with one funny statement to confuse us that the strike by NARD has been apprehended. And when I now looked at the statement, I discovered that what they are trying to say is that the meeting that is supposed to hold in November, they are bringing it closer to
Wednesday.
That's apprehension.
That's the apprehension.
Exactly.
So
I read it too.
Honestly, I looked at that, and instead of this, of the minister to appeal to his colleagues, the resident doctors, who are actually the ones engaged in the medical,
bulk of the work.
Yeah, bulk of the work, the secondary and tertiary health facilities, like the teaching hospitals and where we have chief medical directors for the federal medical centers and the teaching hospitals. Those are the sectors that are actually involved, because like the primary health sector, the primary care system has collapsed. That one is not even non-existent. I mean, we are supposed to have at least one in each ward, not even a local government.
Yeah, in each
ward across the country. But where you have these primary health centers at the local governments, they are just constituency projects by the National Assembly members, and you see just like a 4-bedroom flat, empty, outgrown by weeds. So nobody should talk about any Hippocratic oaths for the doctors. They are also human. Because they see
they go to the same markets.
That is
they
it.
buy the same things.
And now Adewale is saying that youth corpers, doctors on housemanship that we call interns should be taken care of. Can he allow himself to be treated by such doctors if he goes to treatment? NYC doctors. I'm not saying
there's even
they
a
are not
limit
okay.
to which they can.
There's a limit to which you call.
No, you can't give what you don't have. This has to do with experience.
Yes. So I think the government should, if possible, if Buhari needs to get involved, or the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, they should get involved and resolve this issue of the resident doctors before it gets out of hand.
But Majide, when you look at it, it's becoming a kind of embarrassment. As in, we can't have ASU. I'm still maintaining it, an enemy on strike. It's a symptom of failure on the part of government. Yes. Is either you meet the agreement or you try to dialogue and you engage them in such a way that you make sure you'll be able to nip this crisis. I don't see any reason why Dr. Chris Ngige, who is a medical doctor, will be the labor minister and he cannot reach out to his colleagues or find a level ground, because this is very dangerous. Nigeria already right now, the situation we're facing now, if you go to some densely populated areas, you just see some chemists, pharmacists. At the back of it, you see nurses. They give quacks. You give people injection, and because it's affordable.
You know what? Let me tell you one story in Kaduna. One pharmacist opened a shop, a pharmacy shop. The wife was working in a government hospital as an auxiliary nurse. The wife will bring syringes, use syringes from hospital, will bring them to the husband, and they were injecting people with used syringes. So if they injected someone who had HIV, and they use the same syringe on another person, that person automatically becomes a carrier and infected. The truth is, all Professor Adewale needs to do is to roll back the years. Remember when he was an activist doctor himself, and they went on strike, and Buhari government declared him wanted, and it took to his heels. It took to his heels. It is history that is repeating itself now. This will always happen. Former lecturers will be made education minister. And then they'll get there, won't be able to even rein in their own colleagues, won't be able to solve the major problems of their own colleagues. Remember Awalu Yadudu, when he was minister, ASU went on a long strike. He chased ASU members out of their homes. Because he felt, okay, since people refuse to work, okay, we'll send you out of staff quarters. If we send you out of staff quarters, maybe that pressure will be so much, some of them will feel like coming back. Former activists always fail in government. I don't know why. So the truth is, the minister has to be conscious of his future, how history will judge him. He has to solve this problem and solve it quickly. When you talk about Ngige, he's the one presiding over that ministry. And for so long, Nigerian workers have been saying, look, do something about the minimum wage. Government has found it difficult to even constitute its own committee.
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, we are infringing on the constitution
Because it says
by not adjusting that minimum wage. You know it.
Yeah.
Ngige knows it. The white-bearded man knows it. But he has not done anything about it. When you interview him, they will speak English, they will gloss over the problem. One day, although we know that even NLC these days, they are disorganized.
Well,
One day, those guys will feel pained, sufficiently pained, and they will say they want to go on strike. At that time, we'll start calling them names.
All right, all right. Coming up on Journalist Hangout, Ganduje Kwakwanso supporters in bloody clash at Emir's Palace. Details shortly. It's still Journalist Hangout. Join us again. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Journalist Hangout, and we're reaching you live from Television Continental here in Lagos, Nigeria. The bug of political infighting is consuming the All Progressive Congress in Kano State. Last week, we saw supporters of Ekiti State Governor Ayodele Fayose clash with those of Senator Abiodun Olujimi over matters of the People's Democratic Party. On Saturday, the annual traditional Hawan Doshe Doba, that is at the Emir's Palace in Kano, turned bloody. Supporters of the incumbent governor Abdullahi Ganduje engaged in a free-for-all with supporters of Senator Rabiu Kwakwanso. Cutlasses, bottles, and clubs were used freely, forcing spectators to scamper for safety. The police confirmed that no life was lost in the melee, but many people sustained injuries for which some were hospitalized. Sadly, no arrest has been made. What is going on? Babajide, this is just some, we are moving towards 2019, and we're feeling the tension across the country. But Kano State is peculiar. Why is Kano peculiar?
You see, this is really unfortunate. For me, it's a massive shame that Ganduje and Kwankwaso have become sworn enemies. The governor admitted that he has not been on talking terms with Kwankwaso for so long. Kwankwaso has refused to visit Kano for almost 2 years, his hometown.
He wasn't there during the celebration?
No. Kwankwaso, even when Damason in Kano died and people were coming, Jonathan, everybody was going there to pay homage, he refused to go. He refused to go. The last time he visited Kano was when he came for the burial of the governor's mother.
And that there was crisis. That's
a long time. Yes, there was crisis at that time too. That's a long time. The biggest fire incident in Kano history happened at the Muhammadu Abubakar market. He didn't come to pay, to console the people. He has decided to stay away from Kano, but you will see him anywhere there's a disaster, in Mambila, other places, he will go there, come to Maitre, go to Ife, but he refuses to go to Kano. The enmity between both men has reached an embarrassing level.
And they used to be very close.
The Kwankwaso described Ganduje as the best deputy governor in Nigeria. He remains the only governor who allowed his deputy to succeed him. But today, there's bitter enmity between them. And I think that when people say, oh, the governor felt that this man wanted to be imposing his own ideas on him and all that, I want to think that it's just not that. I believe that the problem has to do with their own supporters. Because it's their supporters who are causing all the trouble. Okay, Asiwaju went to Kano and praised the governor's work.
For doing well.
And you saw Kwankwaso's supporters accusing Asiwaju that why should he go and...
That he came from the airport. That is just from the airport to government house.
Why should he praise? And you are in the same party. You are in the same party and all this is happening. Remember, from the day when those House of Assembly members, 38 House of Assembly members, 34 of them dropped their red caps
And that red cap symbolizes
Kwakwasia.
Ideology.
That's the cap that even the governor wears. The governor even rolled out money for them to produce more caps. Today, his supporters are refusing to wear the cap. They would rather wear blue cap. Because
does Ganduje still wear this red cap?
No, I don't.
He still wears. The governor will still wear red cap. That's what he wears. That's him now. He still wears it till tomorrow.
But yes, this is
yes, but that is not. He may wear it,
but his mind.
It's what's in his mind that matters. Now, every year, what happened last year was when the governor went for that event last year, the Kwankwaso people had positioned themselves and they were taunting the governor, abusing him, calling him names. This time around, the governor's supporters expected that they would
something
do that.
Like that.
Yes, so they were better prepared. With their cutlasses, they were better prepared. So they left them. So when they began to abuse the governor, call him names, they descended on them like paratroopers and beat the hell out of them. They chased them away from the place. So now what people are saying is, okay, when Kwankwaso was governor, nobody harassed him in the way that you want to be harassing Ganduje. Kano people do not want politics of bitterness that we are seeing now. People should let the election day decide who governs the people. But what we are seeing, I can tell you that even part of why some people were bitter with the emir when he made that mistake in attacking his own governor falsely, when he claimed his governor stayed in China for so long looking for investor, whereas the governor didn't last more than 48 hours. People claimed that it was Ganduje that was using him. And they piled pressure on the governor.
No, it was Kwankwaso.
It was Kwankwaso that was using him. They piled so much pressure on the emir. The emir apologized. And I remember someone sat here one day and said, no, nobody can gag the emir of Kano. When was the last time he spoke?
He has been effectively gagged.
Effectively put in his place. Because at the end of the day, it was Kwankwaso that installed him as emir. So it's easy for people to say, oh, it's Kwankwaso that is using him to insult, because he lied against the governor. Sanusi lied against the governor, it was clear. That was why he had to apologize in the end. And then he effectively buttoned up his mouth. So the truth is, now, if you look at the conflict, clearly Ganduje is extremely loyal to Buhari. Remember, it was Ganduje that he first called on phone. He's extremely loyal to him, and he can see that Kwankwaso is interested in 2019. So as far as he's concerned, he must smash this person so that Buhari will stand a much better chance. So
okay, let me quickly pick this call. Yusuf is calling us from Borno State. Many thanks for joining us, Yusuf.
Good evening, Babaji.
Good evening, my brother.
Good evening, Yusuf.
I'm calling you from the local government Borno State.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your time with the guests in the studio. I would like to contribute to the issue when you were discussing earlier on about the strike of doctors.
All right, do that quickly.
Please, there are a lot of issues that are definitely on ground, as Babatu just says, that when riches wage war, it is only the poor that dies. I know that the politicians are just there. I wonder why that most of our leaders will go out for medical treatment abroad, while the federal government is capable of buying all the equipment to broken here in our uncle, receive all sorts of treatment.
Okay, I think
I wonder why you go on agreement with people for so many years.
Okay, I think I get the drift. He's talking about medical tourism, why the government should invest on this thing. But looking at what is playing out, is this a kind of precursor to 2019?
Yeah. What is actually happening now cannot be totally, removed from what we can potentially see in 2019. But again, when you look at the fact that people say politics is dirty, you know, you just look at it from the perspective of the fact that being dirty is not just about some people coming together to dig up history or secrets about a particular contestant, you know. You will not look at it from the angle of violence that is all around within our politics. You will not look at the angle of the kind of dirty fights that you will see amongst people that are supposed to be role models to people. Like Babajide mentioned something about the fact that the governor, Ganduje, said he was not in talking terms with Kwankwaso, and Kwankwaso not been in his state for like 2 years. You know, when you see their supporters going in that line as well, you will not totally, you know, find it strange, because that is the foundation many of these people are laying. And when you now look at the importance of that state within the political equation of Nigeria, you will know that, you know, we have a lot of challenge ahead of us, you know. And when we start to see the issue of violence, people using dangerous weapons just on a visit, an event that is supposed to be exactly. So what are you going to say when they want to start their congresses, when they want to start
within, and these people are within the same party, at least for now.
Yes. So I think such behavior, such attitude should have been totally, if not eradicated, reduced in the kind of politics that we play, you know. For instance, in Lagos, you can talk about area boys coming out to do things and all that. But I don't think that you will see a Fashola or Ambode and their supporters, you know, engaging in that kind of... You can see code words amongst men in politics, but not at the level at this... Exactly. And that's the reason why we should be careful about
what are we looking at here?
Well, it's politics, that's the way it's played in Nigeria. And I think I disagree with you about the example in Lagos. There were clashes between supporters of rival groups within the APC during the just concluded local government elections, and at least in Motion, for example. And I think people died. So it's all over. That's the kind of politics we pay in Nigeria. But it's rather rather unfortunate. And you see, these skirmishes occur where the political party, where people believe that the political party has a comparative advantage of winning the ticket. Like what is happening in Ekiti State, they still feels that Fauci looms large. That's why the supporters and those of Olujimi, would go and quarrel. And in Kano, what we are seeing playing out is, like Jide said, it's a game of 2019 that is playing out. And what baffles me there is, Kwankwaso, actually anointed Ganduje. And they were like the best of powers. We had a Ganduje that was very quiet and
very
loyal deputy until he emerged. But then, if you look at that, you should also look at what happened in Anambra. Today, Obiano and Obi, they are in different camps.
They don't see.
Peter Obi, the former governor, is supporting another candidate against...
No, because he told him that, look, he met with ABGA leaders after Obiano emerged, and there was no love lost. And the governor told him to his face that, look, the only solution is for you to leave this party for me. That's what happened, and they had to leave the party for him.
So it's
somebody that installed you.
He told you. And as a matter of fact, the Anambra example it should be a case study in succession game in politics. That you see, don't just go out of your way and anoint somebody that you think will be loyal to you. We have seen it. We have seen.
May be hiding his real character.
We've seen it in Abia.
In Abia,
even happening in
Akwa
Ibom states,
and even in now in Kano. That of Kano is even terrible, to the extent that the younger brother of Kwankwaso was was among those people attacked, and the Soma SSG, they were among those attacked in the other riot for Salah in Kano. So it's don't say it should be a lesson.
They even
to political leaders.
they even insulted themselves on the floor of the National Assembly. The supporters of this one and the supporters of the other one. I said,
let me
taking it beyond Kano.
Yakubu is calling us from Dokwemo in Lagos State. Thank you for joining us, Yakubu.
Good evening to you all.
Good evening, Yakubu.
Babajide.
Good evening, Yakubu.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes. About the Kano politics, Babajide, I believe
Because Babajide always mentions some certain things in that studio, especially Kano State, Kaduna State, and so many other states that are governed by the APC. Yes. But to me, I believe the leadership of the party has not done well at all. Underline that statement, at all. But in this case now, I believe the Mr. PMB, in person of President Muhammadu Buhari, should come in. Because this is the two gladiator in that case. If the political leader, as in person of the chairman of the party, has already failed totally, for me, it's already failed totally. In fact, if I have my way, I'll be back changing that man tomorrow. But now, the man is already failed, and then Mr. President is the first person of the leadership of the party. He should come in and call the two gladiators in that state, because now they are fighting now. The two gladiators, their children is not among the people that are sustaining injury. In fact,
thank you, Yakub. Another angle to it. You want to say something?
That was actually the point I was trying to make the other time. When I tried to draw a comparison between, what we see in Lagos and other parts of the country, it is not as if these boys don't create problems amongst themselves. I mean, the supporters and all that, but the leaders, they are finding a way to manage the crisis in such a way that it cannot be seen
to degenerate.
Degenerate.
I wanted to ask you that even Kwakwanso, for Mr. President to call Kwakwanso before the election, we know that Kwakwanso and Mr. President, they are not munchy. I don't know, maybe before or after the election, I know. And in 2019, I know Kwakwanso has this presidential ambition.
Yes.
So it will be difficult for even Mr. President himself to say he wants to broker peace between Kwakwanso and Ganduje.
No, someone else has to do it. It can't be the Mr. President. Mr. President knows that Kwakwanso is high in his seat. He's been going. If you listen to the Kano governor, I think like 2 weeks ago, he said when we were praying for the president's health to improve, some people were using that time to be opening campaign offices all over the country. He was referring to Kwakwanso. He was referring to him. He said that by God's grace, their ambition will not be realized.
Damn.
So, and you see, the thing is, you see, in politics, those who know, if Mr. President is not running, someone like the little man in Kaduna would definitely throw his hat in the ring. Yeah. What he would do is to try to smash the Tambuas of this world and other people who may also be interested.
Yeah.
We are seeing it already. We are seeing that already. That because, yes, everyone thinks that if the president will run, then nobody can stop him in the APC. Nobody can stop him. Nobody will get a chance to defeat him. You won't even get a chance to defeat him.
Yeah.
So, but if he will not run, some of his people are positioning themselves already. They are positioning themselves already and they are fighting one another. No, Kwakwanso, remember what Erufai said in that interview with Daily Trust, that those who leaked the letter that he wrote to the president, they were doing it because of 2015. That they wanted to destroy 2019, you know. So the thing is, that politics of 2019, we are beginning to see signs that, okay, people are gearing up and all that. But my wish is for these two gladiators to calm down, because we can't encourage a situation where people will be killing one another just because of two individuals.
All right. Today, human rights watchdog Amnesty International released the pressing statistics. It says at least 223 people have been killed in Boko Haram attacks in Nigeria's northeast since April. Most of them occurred in Borno State, and many were suicide attacks carried out by women and girls forced into the acts. Cameroon, which has also been similar attacks, lost 158 people to insurgency within the same period. Further data by the human rights group showed an increase in Boko Haram's attack from April to early September in 2017 compared to the corresponding period in 2016. Recently, the Nigerian military made gains against the dreaded group, but these attacks persists, when will the Northeast enjoy total peace and freedom? MJ, let me start from you. Yeah. When you look at this thing they're giving us, they're saying that 223 people have been killed in this attack just from April to this time.
Yeah, it's rather unfortunate that despite the gains that military are making in the Northeast against the Boko Haram insurgents, we still have this well orchestrated and solo attacks that they carry out. We've said it here times without number that it's a war of strategy that should be in place now, that should be strategically planned. I'm happy that Jide was at Sambisa over the weekend, where I saw some of these things. The fight is now being localized. Boko Haram won't want to give up easily. Their strength has been seriously decimated, no doubt. But then they still want to prove that. That's why the attacks they are carrying out now are just one like a hit and run, or like a sting stuff. They'll just hit and recede. So, but because they know this territory inside out, and they also mix with the people, so it's easy for them to pick their prey, their targets, which they use as suicide bombers. A report by Amnesty also confirmed that the girls they use for the suicide bombs are between the ages of 12 and 13. So in most cases, they don't know. They just con them and give them some tips for them to carry out the attack. So it's difficult when you deal with such a situation. But I think the Nigerian, our military should, stop giving some orders that are difficult to meet, like they call the 40-day deadline for them to get Shekau. It will get Shekau more, even if you have to issue such an order, you don't make it public. You can give that directive to your troops within the ranks, and know that this is a target. You can even put a price tag, but let it remain within. But for you to make it open, now the 40 days has elapsed, and Shekau is nowhere to refund. This is the same Shekau we have killed more than 6 times. So when he hears such things, he wants to prove a point as their leader, to carry out more attacks to show that he's still there. Sorry, recall that since the exchange of the Chibok girls, the last batch that were exchanged, we've not had anything, and there were suggestions then that those guys might actually go and recoup with whatever they got in exchange for those girls. And since then, we have been seeing an increase in the level of attacks, although the government denied that no money exchanged hands.
Nico, when you look at this situation as in the Northeast now, things have really gone bad, and the figure you see, it doesn't even make headline again, as in 200, and from April to this time. What will make headline in Europe? What will make headline in this thing? Because there can be a bomb attack yesterday now, and you just hear that 19, 20 people. It will not make headline in the pages of newspaper again in Nigeria. It's becoming worrisome.
Yes, really, really unfortunate, and it's particularly good that the report is coming from Amnesty International. At least we can accord them significant level of credibility, and their issues can also be taken very seriously. And it's a pointer to the fact that the war is far from over. We've heard about what they've said about being the Boko Haram being technically defeated, and a lot of names being given about the fight that has been taken to Boko Haram. But now the military needs to improve their intelligence and also improve their strategy. They talked about these perpetrators of evil using young ladies, coming to the IDPs, coming into civilian population, penetrating our borders, and those are the areas where our military needs to improve in terms of intelligence and strategy as well. Because looking with the fact that between 2009 and now, over 20,000 people have been killed, over 2 million people have been displaced. Over 5 million people, you know, are practically living citizens with no state, so to speak. So I think it should bother everybody to a serious government to know that, you know, this is a serious war, because after the war with Boko Haram, on the feet of that fight, there'll be a lot of wars.
Humanitarian crisis, yes.
You know, those are the issues that should disturb us very seriously.
Continuing from what we saw yesterday, and we saw women and young children even at the target range of the Nigerian Air Force. And yesterday we said if the bomb should drop now and they kill targets, that the people that come and pick their the corpses will be women and children. And you begin to look at the role, you know, the level of orientation in the Northeast, especially when it comes to young boys, young girls, what they're using them for.
Yes, you see, there's no way we can totally divorce the extremely harsh social conditions in which people live from what Boko Haram is doing in that region. Boko Haram is feasting from endemic poverty in the Northeast region. When you talk about even out-of-school children, it's a lot worse in the Northeast. You talk about illiteracy, it's a lot worse in the Northeast. So, and poverty, extreme poverty. Extreme poverty. There are some people who have never owned 1,000 in their lives in the Northeast. Yes. Yeah. Boko Haram will come, like they did in Madagali. They will come with an offer of a loan. They'll give them loans. When they are unable to pay back, they come for them and conscript them forcibly into their own their fighting group. So this is what is happening. I looked at those figures. Sometimes people will think that these things are exaggerated, but in my view,
even
more people were killed. A lot of these attacks don't get reported.
I'm telling you.
Look, I met a squadron leader in Maiduguri, and he told me, he said, Jide, sometimes when you talk about those clashes, you talk about certain things in the Northeast, I will now call our forces on ground, our soldiers on ground, and they will tell me that, yes, it happened. So many of these things don't get reported. So a lot of people get killed that we are not even aware of. Look at the month of July, for example. That was the month that they launched that attack where they killed at least 70 people, including 18 soldiers.
18
that
soldiers.
Attack on those oil workers. And as we speak, they are still holding on to
those lecturers.
Yes, 3 lecturers and their driver. They are still holding on to them. Vice President Oshibajo said in Kebbi State then, when he went to inaugurate the rice mill, that the government was going to do everything possible to secure the release of those guys. As we speak, those guys are still in detention. Still being held by Boko Haram, the Al-Banawi faction. You know, that is a very ruthless faction. That is the faction that goes after soldiers. They don't believe in burning homes. It's soldiers that they go after. Soldiers, police, and Christians. That's their own goal.
That's the one that they have their loyalty, ISIS recognize.
Yeah, they recognize Abu Musab Banawi as the leader of the group. That's the son of the Yusuf. He's just about 26 years. And he's the head of that group. Now, they are ruthless. They kill so many people. So when you imagine, and then the University of Maiduguri, during that time, the month of July, they were attacking that university. That university has been attacked 8 times in the last 6 months. No wall around the university. It's just now that Governor Shetima brought out 2.8 billion that they must wall the school. A school that there's a portion of it that is adjacent to Sambisa Forest, and there's no wall around it. Why won't they be coming? Of course they will come. They will come to kill people. Yes, but now, no, you see, built in peacetime, but we can see that the school is located on the way to Konduga. Konduga is close to Sambisa Forest, and there are villages in that area. So they come into those villages to go and kill innocent students and staff of the university. So it's a very terrible situation that we find ourselves. Yes, we've degraded them. I like something that the chief of air staff said yesterday. Maybe we'll play back during one of our subsequent programs. He said there is no local government that Boko Haram totally controls.
Yes.
Which is saying the truth. That's a God-fearing man. Because they still control some parts of our country. But to say, oh, there's nowhere in Nigeria that Boko Haram controls, is a lie from the pit of where? Hell. Yeah. So, but the Air Force chief has identified that, yes, they do not totally control any local government anymore. But they still control some parts of those of some local, at least 3 local governments control some parts of them. We need to flush them out of those places so that our people can live in peace.
But Mojid, what should we do to stop the these young people being conscripted, used as suicide bombers?
Well, we have said this several times. Most Hausa people have these transistor radios where they keep abreast of the news. Yeah. I think there should be a lot of information dissemination as to, reorientate both kids and their parents and their guardians.
Operation Lafayette has a radio station.
Yes,
an FM
so
station.
Where they constantly preach to these people not to accept, allow their kids out into enemy territory, and also for the kids not to even take to accept anything as a gift from strangers, because they lure them with biscuits and sweets and stuff like that. When the moment they speak outside to them, they just give them this stuff, strap it around them, and tell them to go on.
That's it. So, parting shot on this?
Yeah, acknowledging the fact that there is a strong link between poverty and crime and violence, I think it is even more than important now for the government to address the issue of poverty, particularly in the northeast area. From that point, we can be able to identify some of the other challenges.
Beyond the military campaign.
Exactly. It is
poverty should be dealt with.
Very seriously.
Babajide, parting shots?
Yes, I think that the military should intensify their attacks on these guys, intensify their bombings. Those are the kind of stories that we want to reach. Those are the kind of stories that will make us happy. And I think that whatever the Air Force or the Nigerian Army requires should be provided them, so that we can finish off this enemy once and for all. Iraqis are finishing off ISIS in their country. Yeah. They are taking back territories from ISIS. ISIS is being pounded in Syria. They are being defeated. So they can't now come and remain in Nigeria because, of course, Boko Haram is affiliated to ISIS. They can't remain in Nigeria and be killing our people. So the treatment that the Iraqis are giving ISIS in their country, that is the treatment that we have to give Shekhar and his people. We must give them a bloody nose. They don't deserve to live. Since they think that other people don't deserve to live, they too do not deserve to live.
I want to thank you. We drop an anchor on the program today, and I want to thank you, Mojid Jamiu. Thank you for your contribution. I want to thank you, Lekon Fatodu. Thank you for coming on the show. And Babajide Kolade Otitoju. And that's it on Journalists Hangout today. Join us tomorrow for another interesting episode of the program. You can watch the repeat broadcast tonight on all our platforms, and you can also watch Journalists Hangout on YouTube. That's youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalists Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Ozubapu. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.